Have you ever questioned whether a man's love for you is genuine? Not merely expressed verbally, not just experienced in moments of transient passion, but manifesting in a manner that is steadfast, profound, and authentic. We exist in a culture where love is frequently confused with extravagant displays, eloquent phrases, or powerful emotions. But let's acknowledge reality. Words come easily, passion wanes, and gestures can lack substance. Authentic love isn't discovered in a single instant. It's revealed through a man's conduct, his reliability, and the way he supports you when circumstances become challenging. But this raises a point. Why incorporate Stoicism? How does an ancient philosophical system relate to the concept of love? Stoicism isn't about stifling feelings or adopting a detached demeanor. It centers on achieving mastery over one's emotions, exercising discipline over impulses, and maintaining a profound dedication to virtue. A man guided by Stoic wisdom doesn't approach love carelessly. He doesn't become infatuated solely due to an initial spark or an overwhelming surge of feelings. His affection is steady, proven through time, and founded on something far more substantial than temporary allure. So how can you determine if a man's love for you is true? Not just for today, not merely when conditions are favorable, but consistently. There exist 6 undeniable indicators that distinguish genuine love from passing infatuation. Let's explore them. Sign 1. He prioritizes virtue above passion. Consider this briefly. How many relationships dissolve because they are solely constructed upon passion? The type that ignites with intense fervor, a maelstrom of emotions, and the exhilarating sensation of discovering something authentic, only to extinguish just as rapidly. It's the love that initially feels utterly consuming but soon becomes volatile, erratic, and fraught with drama. Perhaps you've observed this phenomenon, or maybe you've personally undergone it. Passion burns intensely, yet lacking a more robust foundation for sustenance. It diminishes, leaving behind bewilderment, letdown, and sometimes profound heartache. A man whose love for you is authentic, drawing from Stoic wisdom, does not base his affection on ephemeral emotions. He doesn't permit passion to govern his conduct. Instead, he consistently opts for virtue over impulse. Within Stoicism, virtue represents the ultimate good. It entails living with wisdom, justice, courage, and self-restraint. When a man loves from a foundation of virtue rather than mere passion, his love manifests as stable, unwavering, and deeply purposeful. Seneca, a prominent Stoic philosopher, characterized true love as something that doesn't cause you to lose your identity, but rather facilitates becoming your optimal self alongside another person. A man motivated solely by passion might appear fervent initially. He might overwhelm you with displays of affection, grand demonstrations, and unending declarations. But love isn't measured by the intensity of someone's feelings at a given moment. It's assessed by whether their actions remain consistent and aligned with virtue, even as emotions fluctuate. Envision a man utterly devoted when circumstances are positive. He expresses profound love, claims he cannot exist without you, declares you his entire world. Yet, when life presents challenges, when pressure mounts, when frustrations surface, when events don't unfold as desired, you observe a disconcerting change. He becomes reactive, his emotions seizing control. Perhaps he erupts in anger, creates distance when difficulties arise, or allows his insecurities to generate needless conflict. His love, though intense, feels unreliable. This isn't necessarily due to a lack of care. It stems from insufficient self-mastery. The Stoics would assert that love governed by emotions instead of reason is incapable of enduring. Now contrast that with a man practicing Stoic love. A man who comprehends that love transcends mere feeling. It embodies a commitment to something more significant. He refuses to let transient emotions dictate his behavior. Even amidst frustration, even when perfection is unattainable, he maintains steadiness. His affection isn't contingent upon the peaks of passion or the ease of favorable times. Instead, it is anchored in virtue, faithful, patient, and intentional. Such a man will not permit fleeting temptation, anger, or insecurity to impair his judgment. He remains loyal, not out of obligation, but because he prizes integrity above momentary gratification. He perceives love not as something to be merely experienced, but as something to be cultivated and nurtured. A man who genuinely loves with virtue over passion will demonstrate it in clear ways. He doesn't allow emotions to overwhelm him, regardless of their depth. Understanding that emotions are transient while character endures, he exercises self-discipline in love, remaining faithful, loyal, and true, not contingent on his mood, but as a deliberate choice reaffirmed daily. He refrains from pursuing the excitement of passion if it compromises his principles. He won't permit his love for you to render him reckless or self-centered. Rather than being enamored with the sensation of love, he is dedicated to the concept of constructing something genuine, meaningful, and lasting with you. A man prioritizing virtue over passion will possess a love that doesn't diminish when faced with obstacles. He won't be the type to withdraw when circumstances become arduous. Instead, he will remain constant, resilient, and devoted because his love isn't merely an emotional peak. It reflects his fundamental character. He doesn't love you because it's effortless, because it feels pleasant in the moment, or because he's swept up in excitement. He loves you because he has consciously decided to, because he has cultivated the discipline to stand by you through life's adversities, and because his love originates from something deeper than passing desire. Countless individuals mistake passion for love, yet passion alone is invariably insufficient. Passion is thrilling, but it can also be imprudent. It can prompt people to utter things they don't truly mean, make commitments they fail to uphold, and behave in ways they later regret. True love, the kind that endures time, hardship, and transformation, is built upon virtue. The Stoics grasped this. They recognized the power of emotions, but understood that the man who masters himself also masters love. A love that persists isn't found in dramatic pronouncements or elaborate gestures. It resides in consistency, integrity, and steadfast commitment. Therefore, ask yourself, is the man in your life governed by his emotions, or does he choose virtue over impulse? Because a man who genuinely loves you doesn't simply fall into love. He chooses love each and every day. And that form of love, that is the kind that never truly fades. Sign 2. He guides with reason, not solely emotion. Love has the capacity to obscure judgment. It can sweep you off your feet, cloud your thinking, and instill a sense of invincibility until reality sets in. We've all observed it, perhaps even experienced it directly. That intoxicating form of love that burns fiercely but dims the instant difficulties emerge. The Stoics comprehended this dynamic thoroughly. They maintained that love should be steady, not reckless, purposeful, not impulsive, grounded in virtue, not merely emotion, because emotions, while potent, are inherently transient. They intensify, subside, and can mislead. A man whose love is authentic doesn't simply yield to his emotions. He attains mastery over them. According to Stoic wisdom, a man's love isn't gauged by the intensity of his passion, but by his capacity to harmonize emotion with reason. Epictetus stated it concisely. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The Stoics were not opposed to emotions. They opposed being subjugated by them. A man who permits anger to devolve into cruelty, jealousy into possessiveness, or insecurity into manipulative behavior isn't expressing love. He's merely reacting. Conversely, a man who pauses before speaking, contemplates before acting, and prioritizes wisdom over impulse, that is a man whose love possesses endurance. Reflect on the most resilient relationships you've witnessed. Are they characterized by incessant conflict, emotional manipulation, or dramatic fluctuations? Or are they marked by stability, security, and a foundation of trust? A man who leads with reason doesn't blindly follow every emotional inclination. He doesn't allow fear or pride to shape his actions. He remains composed, thoughtful, and intentional, particularly during moments that truly test his character. History provides an ideal illustration. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor of Rome. Despite governing an empire, facing treachery and conflict, he consciously refused to act out of anger or vanity. He was renowned for pausing before articulating thoughts, carefully considering each action, and leading with wisdom rather than impulse. Now consider the impact if more men approached love in this manner. Instead of disputing merely to assert correctness, they would listen with the intent to understand. Instead of reacting out of frustration, they would respond with patience. Instead of acting from fear, they would choose loyalty and commitment. I learned this lesson through difficult personal experience. I once found myself involved in a relationship where every disagreement escalated into an emotional confrontation. The initial intensity was captivating until it ceased to be. Each argument intensified, every insecurity fueled another, and I found myself reacting impulsively, not thinking clearly. I allowed frustration to shape my words, permitted my emotions to dictate my actions, and when the relationship eventually dissolved, I committed the error the Stoics cautioned against. I attributed blame to the circumstances rather than accepting responsibility for my response to them. It wasn't until I took a step back and posed the question, what would Marcus Aurelius do, that I recognized my fundamental mistake. Love devoid of emotional self-mastery isn't genuine love. It's chaos, and without discipline, love isn't constructed, it crumbles. A man who genuinely loves you does not permit emotions to dominate him. He refrains from uttering words in anger that he will later regret. He doesn't abruptly depart when circumstances become challenging. He doesn't allow fear or doubt to undermine something authentic. Instead, he remains present, considerate, and composed when it truly counts. Imagine this scenario. You are engaged in a heated argument. A man driven by impulse might elevate his voice, utter hurtful remarks, or walk away. A man guided by reason will pause, take a breath, and respond with clarity instead of contributing to chaos. The distinction: one is controlled by his emotions, while the other maintains control over them. This type of man seeks peace, not drama. He avoids initiating conflicts over insignificant matters. When distressed, he doesn't erupt. He communicates articulately. He avoids making impulsive choices that endanger the relationship. He thinks with a long-term perspective, choosing actions that safeguard the love he possesses rather than jeopardizing it during moments of weakness. And crucially, he maintains composure during adversity. Whether facing a difficult conversation, a personal crisis, or an unforeseen challenge, he does not succumb to panic. He remains steady. A man's love isn't validated during easy times. It is revealed during the moments that challenge him. Because love isn't solely about experiencing deep feelings, it's about acting prudently. A man capable of balancing emotion with reason is a man whose love is structured for longevity. The Stoics understood that mastering emotions isn't about suppressing love. It's about safeguarding it. Sign 3. He protects and provides without seeking ego gratification. A man's love isn't confirmed during moments of ease, nor is it quantifiable by words alone. Love, when informed by Stoic wisdom, isn't characterized by grand gestures or poetic pronouncements. It manifests as presence, stability, and unwavering dedication. The world frequently mistakes love for passion, protection for control, and devotion for ownership. However, a man whose love is authentic does not aim to possess or dominate. He strives to support and empower. His love isn't ostentatious. It doesn't crave acknowledgement. It simply endures, unyielding and constant. In a culture that praises immediate fulfillment and transient passion, the concept of protection is often misconstrued. Some interpret it as physical strength, others as financial support. Yet a Stoic man recognizes that true protection runs much deeper. It isn't about shielding you from life's challenges, but about standing alongside you as you confront them. A man who genuinely loves offers security not merely physically, but mentally and spiritually as well. He is the one providing calm amidst your tempests, offering clarity during confusion and reminding you of your resilience when you momentarily forget it. The Stoics teach that words are ephemeral, but actions shape character. Epictetus, a significant Stoic philosopher, advised, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." A man loving through the perspective of Stoicism doesn't feel compelled to declare his devotion. His actions serve as his testimony. When life descends into chaos, he doesn't yield to panic or retreat. He remains present, steady, and resolute. When hardship emerges, he doesn't falter. He rises to the occasion. His love doesn't fluctuate when faced with difficulty. Instead, it is precisely within adversity that his love reveals its most potent form. There exists a distinction between a man present only when convenient and a man who remains steadfast when necessary. Imagine feeling overwhelmed, weighed down by stress, plagued by self-doubt. A man governed by impulse might offer hollow phrases or passive comfort, but a Stoic man listens attentively. He doesn't minimize your struggles, nor does he attempt to resolve them simply to bolster his own ego. Instead, he assists you in perceiving solutions, reminds you of your inner strength, and fosters your resilience rather than supplanting it with his own. He does not position himself above you. He positions himself beside you. A man's love, when guided by virtue over emotion, is not reliant on moods, external approval, or the desire to be perceived as a protector. He doesn't protect for recognition, nor does he provide solely to exert influence. He acts this way because it aligns with his fundamental nature. His protection isn't about insulating you from life's difficulties, but ensuring that when they arise, you do not confront them in isolation. He doesn't fight your battles for you, but he will never forsake you amidst the struggle. To love wisely, the Stoics believed, necessitates loving with reason, not just emotion. A man driven by fleeting emotions might express deep love when circumstances are favorable, but become distant when storms gather. A man loving with Stoic wisdom loves you not merely for what you offer him, but for the person he becomes in your presence. His love does not weaken under duress, nor does it demand constant validation to persist. You will recognize him by the sense of peace he introduces into your life. He avoids generating unnecessary discord, nor does he permit his emotions to dictate his actions. He doesn't perform actions expecting reciprocation. His love isn't conditional but founded on principle. He refrains from making promises during moments of passion that he cannot uphold during moments of hardship. He doesn't inject chaos into your life, he brings clarity. A man who genuinely loves doesn't leave you feeling isolated during your struggles. He serves as a bedrock, a constant presence, a source of quiet strength. He requires no praise for his contributions. His presence itself is eloquent. He doesn't view love as something to be acquired or demonstrated, but as something to be lived out through his character, his choices, and his unwavering commitment. A love of this nature doesn't fade because it was never founded upon transient emotions. It was constructed upon the bedrock of reason, virtue, and the enduring wisdom of Stoicism. Sign 4. He respects your autonomy. Were you aware that in ancient Rome, women belonging to prominent families possessed remarkable levels of independence compared to those in other ancient societies? They held rights to own property, manage enterprises, and even exert influence on political matters indirectly. Although societal norms imposed certain limitations, the most esteemed Stoic thinkers valued a woman's independence rather than attempting to curtail it. This philosophical stance remains equally potent today. Authentic love isn't centered on possession. It isn't about control, limitation, or fostering dependency. A man whose love for you is genuine, guided by Stoic wisdom, understands that love does not imply ownership. It involves supporting and uplifting the individual you care for while honoring their distinct journey. A relationship founded on control and insecurity is inherently fragile. Conversely, a relationship rooted in trust and mutual development is resilient. The Stoics advocated for self-reliance, teaching that every individual should aspire to wholeness independently rather than relying on another person for completion. Seneca, one of the foremost Stoic philosophers, expressed it aptly: "A wise lover does not seek to own but to elevate." A Stoic man does not feel threatened by your achievements. He doesn't experience insecurity when you excel, develop, or transform. In truth, he celebrates these milestones. He comprehends that love's purpose isn't confinement but expansion. Envision a relationship wherein your aspirations are viewed not as competition, but as endeavors deserving encouragement. A dynamic where you aren't implicitly expected to diminish yourself to bolster someone else's sense of security. This embodies love as perceived through Stoic principles. A man whose love is authentic refrains from attempting to dictate your schedule, friendships, or personal objectives. Instead, he respects the aspects of your life existing outside the partnership. He perceives no need to vie with your personal advancement. He takes pride in it. He doesn't operate from a place of insecurity because a man deeply anchored in Stoic principles requires no control over you to feel loved. He extends complete trust without demanding constant reassurance, believing in the inherent strength of your connection. A contemporary Stoic man adheres to the same philosophy exemplified by Marcus Aurelius, one of Rome's greatest emperors and Stoic thinkers, who held profound respect for his wife, Faustina the Younger. Despite wielding immense authority, Marcus never sought to control or diminish her. Instead, he regarded her as an equal partner, possessing her own strengths, intellect, and individual path. A man truly embodying Stoic love feels no compulsion to assert dominance by restricting you. He perceives love as a collaborative partnership, an environment where both individuals are empowered to grow and flourish. Consider how this manifests in daily expressions of love. If you aspire to explore a new interest or career path, he offers encouragement rather than inducing guilt for prioritizing your personal development. If you allocate time to friends, he doesn't interpret it as a threat, but recognizes it as normal and beneficial. If you are dedicated to your personal ambitions, he refrains from making you feel culpable for your drive. He respects and admires it. A man grappling with insecurity might attempt to limit your independence, scrutinize your movements, induce guilt for self-prioritization, or exert control under the pretext of love. However, a man whose love is genuine trusts you implicitly. He requires no control because he possesses confidence in the authenticity of your love. You will identify him by his supportive stance towards your goals, never forcing a choice between him and your aspirations. He trusts you completely, avoiding manipulative games or unwarranted jealousy. He encourages your personal development and success instead of viewing them as competition. Most significantly, he regards you as his equal, not as someone to be dominated or controlled. A man whose love is authentic, according to Stoic wisdom, needs no limitations placed upon you to feel secure. He values your independence as highly as he values the relationship itself, because genuine love isn't about restraining someone. It's about facilitating their ascent. Sign 5, he expresses love through actions, not just words. Anyone can articulate the phrase, "I love you." Words are readily available. They can be murmured during moments of passion, conveyed via text message, or reiterated endlessly without genuine substance. Yet a man whose love for you is authentic, adhering to Stoic wisdom, doesn't merely verbalize love. He demonstrates it through deeds. Love in its most genuine expression isn't an emotion that fluctuates, but a responsibility a man embraces daily. The Stoics maintained that an individual is defined by their actions, not their declarations. Marcus Aurelius, a preeminent Stoic philosopher, advised, Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. This principle applies as much to love as it does to overall character. A man whose love is authentic doesn't simply discuss being a commendable partner. He validates it through his conduct, the decisions he makes, and the consistency of his actions. He comprehends that love isn't about grand pronouncements, but about quiet, unwavering dedication. So how can you ascertain the authenticity of his love? The answer is straightforward. When he commits to being there for you, does he follow through? When life presents challenges, does he stand firmly beside you, or does he vanish? When you require assistance, does he take tangible steps, or merely offer insubstantial reassurances? A Stoic man views love as a responsibility, not merely a feeling. His emotions might fluctuate, but his commitment to you remains steadfast. He doesn't await the ideal moment to convey love. He demonstrates it consistently through actions that hold genuine significance. A man loving with Stoic wisdom doesn't overwhelm you with empty promises or superficial gestures. He doesn't simply articulate what you desire to hear. Instead, he acts upon his words. If he states he will call, he makes the call. If he promises presence, he appears. If he makes a commitment, he honors it, not driven by a desire to impress, but because his integrity matters. Consistency surpasses intensity. This embodies the Stoic approach to love. He might not inundate you with dramatic exhibitions of affection, yet his actions are steady, dependable, and profoundly intentional. I once knew a man named Daniel, a former military service member who had endured years deployed in conflict zones. Having witnessed the extremes of human behavior, experienced chaos and unpredictability, he had learned that actions carry ultimate weight, while words hold little value without corresponding deeds. Upon returning to civilian life, he faced difficulties adjusting. He observed many around him engrossed in trivialities, uttering insincere statements, making commitments they failed to keep. He found dishonesty and inconsistency intolerable. Then he encountered Maria. She possessed vitality, artistic inclination, impulsiveness, his antithesis in numerous respects. Yet, having endured prior heartbreak, she had developed skepticism towards words. When Daniel expressed his love for her, she initially doubted him. She had heard similar declarations from men who disappeared as soon as difficulties arose. But Daniel differed. He didn't just profess his love, he substantiated it. When she fell ill, he arrived at her residence with provisions and medicine without prompting. Following a particularly challenging workday, he listened, not merely nodding politely while awaiting his turn to speak, but genuinely absorbing her experience, assisting her in finding solutions rather than offering empty commiseration. One stormy night, her vehicle malfunctioned in a remote location. She contacted him, anticipating voicemail or an excuse. Instead, he arrived within 20 minutes. No reluctance, no grievances. He didn't admonish her regarding vehicle maintenance. He didn't make her feel burdensome for needing aid. He simply appeared, resolved the issue, and ensured her safe return home. And that constituted the moment she recognized his love transcended mere words. It manifested through action. Daniel, molded by the discipline and resilience of his past, grasped the Stoic teaching. Love isn't solely about passion, but about consistently showing up, even when inconvenient, unnoticed, or arduous. A man whose love is authentic doesn't fabricate excuses. If something holds importance for you, he endeavors to make it happen. He doesn't postpone investing in the relationship until circumstances are favorable. He exerts effort daily. He understands love isn't defined by flawless moments, but by consistency during imperfect ones. You will discern his love not through the words uttered during easy times, but through the actions taken when challenges arise. He honors his word. No hollow promises, no ambiguous assurances, just decisive action. His love remains steady, avoiding dramatic peaks followed by devastating troughs. He demonstrates his commitment through the small everyday gestures that truly signify care. He accepts accountability for his role in the relationship, never attributing shortcomings to external factors or offering justifications. A man whose love is authentic, according to Stoic wisdom, comprehends that love functions as a verb, not merely a noun. It isn't about articulating the correct phrases. It's about consistently performing the correct actions. And when a man loves you in this manner, you won't need to question its reality. You will perceive it in every action he undertakes. Sign 6. He remains steadfast when circumstances become difficult. Anyone can express love when conditions are favorable, when life proceeds smoothly, when laughter flows freely, when romance unfolds unimpeded. Love seems uncomplicated, but authentic love, the kind that persists, deepens, and fortifies, undergoes its true test during challenging periods. When life becomes intricate, when obstacles surface, when the situation deviates from ideal, that is when a man's genuine love is unveiled. A man whose love is authentic doesn't retreat at the initial indication of trouble. He doesn't permit stress, setbacks, or conflicts to undermine his dedication. Instead, he persists. He advocates for you, and he navigates problems employing wisdom and patience. The Stoics understood that resilience isn't solely a trait for warriors or philosophers. It holds equal importance in love. Seneca once observed, "Difficulty strengthens the mind as labor does the body." A man embracing Stoic love recognizes that relationships aren't about circumventing challenges, but about confronting them collaboratively. Love isn't merely about experiencing pleasant feelings. It's about possessing sufficient strength to endure life's tribulations. A Stoic man doesn't disintegrate when faced with adversity. He doesn't allow stress to transform him into someone unreliable or detached. Instead, he maintains steadiness, dependability, and commitment regardless of life's unforeseen events. So, how can you determine the authenticity of a man's love? The answer isn't found in his treatment of you when everything progresses smoothly. It lies in how he stands by you when life presents difficulties. During arduous times, does he remain by your side? Or does he create distance when conflicts emerge? Does he engage in communication and collaborative problem solving? Or does he withdraw and evade issues? When life presents unexpected challenges, be it career difficulties, health concerns, or personal setbacks, does he offer support or does he disappear? A man whose love is genuine doesn't flee when circumstances aren't flawless. He doesn't abandon you when life becomes demanding. He confronts difficulties alongside you as a unified team, not as someone present only during favorable times. A man whose love is authentic doesn't surrender when faced with challenges. He doesn't regard love as a matter of convenience. He views it as a commitment. When disagreements occur, he doesn't simply walk away. He engages in resolution. He remains steady during crises, whether involving financial struggles, health issues, or significant life transitions. He doesn't desert you when uncertainty strikes. He supports you not merely with words, but with actions demonstrating his long-term dedication. This type of man doesn't shy away from difficult conversations. He doesn't ignore problems or wish them away. Instead, he confronts them with honesty and patience. Love, ultimately, isn't solely about relishing the positive moments. It's about consciously choosing to remain, to persevere, and to grow together even amidst difficulty. You will recognize a man's true love not through grand romantic gestures, but through his resilience. He doesn't vanish when challenges arise. He confronts difficulties with you, not in opposition to you. He navigates conflicts with patience, not avoidance. And most crucially, he substantiates his commitment through his capacity to endure, to remain, and to construct something lasting. A man's genuine love isn't measured by his conduct when life is easy. It's measured by his conduct when life becomes hard, because authentic love isn't about convenience. It's about commitment. Love is frequently envisioned as passion, excitement, and intense desire. Yet true love operates far more quietly, steadily, and possesses greater power than any transient feeling. A man's love isn't validated through grandiloquent speeches or dramatic displays. It resides in the manner he navigates life alongside you during quiet intervals, through the choices he makes. Not solely when circumstances are favorable, but particularly when they are not. Stoic wisdom teaches that genuine love isn't about relinquishing control. It's about achieving self-mastery in service of something greater. A man whose love is authentic isn't merely carried away by emotions. He is anchored in his values, disciplined in his devotion, and unwavering in his commitment to being the most supportive partner possible. His love isn't reckless or performative. It embodies strength, patience, and steadfastness. So should you ever find yourself questioning the nature of someone's love, consider this. Does his love resemble a tempest, chaotic and unpredictable? Or does it feel like an anchor, strong, steady, and reliable? Because a man whose love is genuine won't leave you guessing. You won't need to wonder. You will simply know. And that kind of love that holds immeasurable worth, I would be keen to learn about your experiences and successes. Please click subscribe, activate the notification bell, and post a comment below to share your story, your achievements, and even the obstacles you've surmounted. If you're uncertain about what to comment, simply type, "I love this," to indicate you've engaged with this session. Your participation contributes to the growth of this community towards wisdom and the skill of transforming every challenge into an opportunity. I will provide links to 2 additional videos here for your continued learning and growth on your personal development path. Thank you, and I look forward to connecting with you in the next video.